Katie, we are back with another episode of Christian Cringe. This is one that you pushed for. You felt very passionately that we needed to talk about Christian video games, which I didn't even know was a thing.
Oh, yeah.
And we have a guest with us today from Marvel Movie Talk and a bunch of other Geekscape podcasts, Eric Connor. So, Eric.
Yes.
Hello. Normally I would go through this like 10-question survey, but I feel like based off question number 1, it will kind of invalidate the other 9 questions. Because question 1 is, have you ever identified yourself as a Christian?
I've been a friend of the Christian Black. I'm a friend of Christians, but no, I despite a last name almost as Irish as your last name, Matt, I am in fact Jewish on both sides of the family. So you're welcome to call me Yitzhak today if you want.
Yeah, so we will we'll bypass the other 9 questions that are almost definitely just going to be a bunch of no's, and dive into Katie telling us about this weird thing that I never knew existed. So how did you play this game prior to us watching this playthrough?
I did. And honestly, so what we've been doing, Eric, just so you know, is we've been reviewing sort of content in terms of like music or movies or whatever that have a Christian bent from the 90s and early 2000s and on. It seems like there's a big capitalist movement during this time to get Christian content into the mainstream. Some things totally work. Some things didn't. This was an interesting game where I thought it was an indie game that like I was the only one who knew about this. My dad brought it, and this was also during one of the times where I feel like my dad was like slowly trying to take me for like, hey, you like this certain piece of content, let's try the Christian version.
Yeah.
And this is 100% one of those kinds of games in that it's much like a lot of Christian games of this time and of this era. It's a direct ripoff of another more popular game. And I'm going to be curious to see if either of you recognize it, if you're up to date on your NES culture or games. Did either of you play NES growing up?
I played a little bit. I mean, I owned an NES. I played a little bit of NES, but I was definitely more of a Super Nintendo raised kid. I think the Super Nintendo came out when I was like 7 or 8. So like, when I was the age to start getting into gaming, that was like the new hotness. So that kind of shifted that. I do like I definitely played like the classics. I played Mario 1, 2, 3, Duck Hunt, like California games. I think it was one where you could hacky sack. Like there was like a handful, but I didn't my Nintendo game references don't go too
Quite
deep
so
unless Super Nintendo had a big sequel to it, and then I would like work my way backwards.
Okay.
The lesser known Super Nintendo.
Yeah,
that only got released in parts of Uruguay.
Exactly.
Nowhere else. I am of the NES age. I know I might look like the new hotness, but I'm in fact an older gentleman. So I was like 13, got my NES, and was off and running. I do hope this game is inspired by the Friday the 13th video game.
I was hoping Castlevania. Honestly, I was like, please be biblical Castlevania. Who's closer, Katie, of the two of us?
You know, it's funny because you're both kind of settling in the middle there. There is a classic game called Bomberman, and Bomberman obviously deals with bombs, but
and a man
setting off bombs. A big thing of this, and especially of this era, is that people were trying to take sort of the violence out of video games. And the most interesting thing, I feel like,
which we all know that they succeeded.
Oh, they totally did.
And there was never violence again.
Never. I mean, their government attempts, everything. So instead of like trying to fight it like legally, technically, they ended up going with people who could skirt around some legalities. So fun fact about the company that developed this, it's called Wisdom Tree, and Wisdom Tree developed a bunch of biblical games. I think it was called, like, there's like Bible Adventures, Sunday Fun Day, all sorts of stuff. But before Wisdom Tree was Wisdom Tree, there was a game company called Color Dreams, and they were not necessarily motivated by religion, but they were necessarily motivated by money. There was an interesting issue with Nintendo where they would lock developers out unless they were officially licensed by Nintendo to create Nintendo games. These guys did not have licensing for Nintendo, but they did find a way around the licensing within their tech. So essentially, it would short out the chip in the NES to just allow them to play the game. So they had a bunch of really schlocky, sort of like Super Mario 2 remake type of games, but a lot of their games in Color Dreams were actually very risque, had a lot of sex, had a lot of violence, and they even had a deal with Hellraiser to develop a game that was supposed to come out on the NES. But that didn't go too far. So because of all of the legalities, and they actually ended up getting sued by Nintendo for some of these workaround games, the one thing about it was that Nintendo lost the suit because it was the people who were selling the games that were actually supposed to be filed against in the lawsuit and not the developers of the game itself. So Color Games kind of skirted that, created a brand new title called Wisdom Tree Games, and paired up with Christian bookstores around the country to create these games.
This is that exact time frame. So I'm going to say this real quick before you continue this tale. Since it's not really readily available for any of us to play, you were kind enough to actually find us a playthrough.
Yes.
That is 4.5 hours.
Which we're not going to sit
here. Yeah, we're not going to sit here and watch
of it. Get ready.
Yeah, but I think we're about at that point where I can at least, there is a video component to this week's episode. Go to Geekscape TV on YouTube. You'll find the video waiting for you. But I'm gonna pull this up a little bit and bring the volume down just a little bit.
Yeah, I knew exactly who to pick to come for this, because I was like, I need to know Eric, or what would you like to be called today?
Yitzhak, if you would. Yes.
I would love what you thought of like the accuracy and
so far 100%.
So the game, what is this game that we're watching people play right now? Katie, and tell us about your great experiences playing it.
Oh my god. So I mean, it's like it's also like a combo of, like, they also took Zelda as a big reference point, but right now what we're watching is Moses kind of going through, and what I believe he's collecting Moses tablets to power up his wisdom that he shoots out at bad people.
Yeah, like in the Torah. Yes,
like in the Torah.
The lesser known 11th plague, in fact, was wisdom as a weapon.
Yes, exactly. I think that's why, like, the W's coming out is also sort of like the word of God or something.
Well, there's an M on those. Is that for Moses, or is it wisdom misspelled terribly?
I think it's for Moses. It's clearly it's some kind of power up. I don't remember precisely what exactly it is, but you're supposed to go through this maze to kind of get to the end, which is very similar to Bomberman, but instead of like setting off bombs and clearing your path, you're working I'm sorry, can we just pause?
Kill male babies. I'm gonna kill male babies. That's a choice.
So trivia comes up after you beat each level, it seems.
God,
about Exodus. So we're on this question. The midwives would not kill the male babies because, and our options are Moses was to be born, Pharaoh forbid it, or they feared God. What do we think the answer is on this one?
So this is predating Moses's birth. I'm trying to figure out where in the narrative we are.
Yeah. No, it's a little confusing, to be real. Shocker, but they are talking about like pre Moses being born, I believe. But the midwives would not kill the male babies. I think this is also during the time of the Great Exodus. So actually, this is actually post I think. I
No,
think
it's
that
pre.
we're going.
No, it's pre. It would be pre because like if
Was it
Moses wasn't born yet,
Yeah.
then we're still in Egypt. Israel,
right?
Jews are still slaves, and so
Yes.
and the idea of Moses was supposed to be. I think it was also like they were supposed to be drowned or something, and instead he was put into the that little raft, and he was a little bassinet,
Yes.
water friendly bassinet, and sent on down the Nile.
Right.
So we're saying what were you saying though? So for the midwives would not kill the male babies because was it because the Pharaoh forbid it or because they feared God?
I think it's Moses was to be born, maybe.
Oh,
I think
let's
that's what
see.
it was. Let's see what he chooses. Oh, they feared God.
They
Yeah.
feared God. That was the
Oh my
correct
God.
answer.
Rabbi Portal, I am so sorry. I really did listen, I promise.
All right, next question we have here is because the male babies were not killed by the midwives, Pharaoh ordered his people to find baby Moses, cast them into the river, or kill the midwives. I think this one's the find baby Moses, right?
Or no, cast him into the river.
I think it's
That's my
cast him into
guess.
the river is my guess. It has been a minute since I played this game. Yeah,
Cast in the river. Okay, wow.
Yeah.
There we are on the 5th trivia question. We missed the first 2. What is with I've played Mario is Missing. Like I know the games with trivia questions, they normally don't go up to 5 questions per level.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was sort of like this was also around a time where like a lot of Christian games would quiz you on your biblical knowledge, and see like because a lot of it was sort of like you had to have rote memory. Yes, there's a nice little thing of baby Moses being put into the river. Now we've got a new level,
which has nothing to do with any of that.
No, it does not. It has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, as we can see in the game, Moses very much alive already and old with a
and
beard.
old as F.
Old as F. And also sort of going along with the Bomberman mechanics is that if he sort of clears a path underneath one of these boulders, the boulder can fall on top of him.
The dig dug mechanism.
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
Who did he just shoot? He shot
I am
someone.
charmed that you.
He did.
I'm charmed that you refer to this though as a maze, because
I mean, this one
it's not much of a maze.
It's like a maze, like an open field is a maze.
Which is funny because so Daniel Lawton is the guy who created Color Dreams and then created the spin-off Wisdom Tree games, and he's quoted as saying that the company put out what he called schlocky unlicensed games and also allowed him to do risque content while doing these sort of like niche games for the Christian market. Oh, what was that trivia? I missed it.
All right, well, we'll see what this next one is. Who did Pharaoh's daughter hire to nurse the baby Moses? I think it's Moses' sister, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it was Moses'
his mother.
I'm starting to question the validity of this Exodus game.
which is interesting because they have a different game called Bible Adventures, or I think it was Bible Adventures.
I feel like I've heard of Bible Adventures. This Exodus puzzle game I have never heard of.
They have another game called Bible Adventures in which Moses' sister is carrying him to be tossed into the river. So consistency amongst the games, not quite their thing. Yeah. But the selling of it definitely is.
Well,
so
what's more Christian than wanting cash?
Right. I'd also like
shot
to know...
of Jesus holding up gold at this point. Is this your God? Is this who you pray to?
This doesn't strike me as a particularly difficult level that we're watching.
The lack of maze to the maze is my favorite part. It really is the straightest of lines to get through this. No dead ends.
No one's even chasing. Like you can just take your precious time
very easily.
I guess they're Roman guards. I'm not really sure, but once he he has to collect all of the Moses tablets or something like that before he can find the door to exit. Yeah.
So should I jump ahead a little bit in this this video? Let's see what
I'm stunned that it's a 4-hour play along of this. Like I think by minute 25 I would have lost my will to be a Jew.
But 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 then you wouldn't be able to get the Moses staff that he can use now as a weapon.
He has it. Wait, I thought he had the staff, and then he just
he does. Look, he's got.
He's going to throw a boulder on a guy. Yes,
yeah, crush him
with all his Jew might.
Listen, I also really wanted you, Eric, specifically to come on this podcast for this specific game because I wanted to know like what you felt like the validity of Exodus.
Yes, when
the
you
original
were when you were
Exodus, the book's pretty good. I think the remake was better, but no, it's it's funny. The quizzes are real specific, right? They actually ask biblical history questions, but then this gameplay has nothing to do with nothing. Like,
Yeah.
it's just him going around with these M's, these mystery M's. That I'm still trying to figure out what that is beyond just his name. And if anything, I was kind of hoping that maybe it would get in because there's lots of good action in Exodus. I mean, if you've seen, Prince of Egypt, like that thing is chock full of like set pieces. And right now, the game thus far, and maybe the big boss level, when you go up against Pharaoh, is the one where things really take a turn. But until then, I find this game to be almost like maddeningly unspecific.
It is.
Anything.
But don't you see Exodus written out in the blocks?
Oh my god!
Did you not notice?
I was thinking that there was a word there, and I didn't piece together what that word was. But
I thought it was Dos de Machina,
Yeah.
Ghost of the Machine.
But wait, so are you trying to tell me, Eric, that in your version of the Torah, that Moses doesn't have exploding canes,
Staffs.
snaps that he can use to get through rock?
Maybe when Mrs. Ben David left the
I'll
room,
say-
maybe we would draw that in.
I want to bring this question back. Did anyone
Yes,
else
you
catch
saw
that
exactly what it was that I saw.
question? I'll tell you. Let's see if that came up again. It was like Pharaoh treated the slaves kindly, ruthlessly, like generously.
And
so mad I
luckily,
can't find it.
the answer was ruthlessly. Oh, look, you've got your golden idols, I believe.
The golden calf. There it is.
Yeah. Mhm.
But is he trying to destroy them or get them? Because those were bad.
I can't remember it. It's all going to depend on how he solves this puzzle. But I'm pretty certain they're bad. Yeah.
He
Shoots them with the word.
Good. Okay, there we go. So that feels like a bit of accuracy to the Bible, right? Because
yes.
the whole thing was he came down and they he got the 10 Commandments and they built the golden calf and he went and am I allowed to say the S word?
Yeah.
He went batshit and blew a stack and destroyed it. So good. All right.
I will give credit where credit's due. That one actually was a little bit of a thinker on how to like get where you needed to go. You had to move some boulders in specific directions and stuff. But let's see, any good?
The ashes were to come from a furnace. Dun, dun, dun.
I feel like this person
wait, hold on.
this game
The music
quite a
is
bit.
Hallelujah, isn't it?
Da, 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 da.
Good catch.
Wrong book, baby.
All of it is so misplaced and wrong. But don't you remember in all of the plagues the giant, I don't know, squids that are like floating around here?
Yeah, what is
It could
this?
be cattle disease. I mean, maybe the cattle's. It's like
Maybe.
The Last of
Virus?
Us.
Yeah, they're like sea urchins.
Wait, and
then
are those good kids or bad kids?
I think because he has a mallet, those
Yeah.
might be some bad kids. And
Yeah.
also, he's got like a toga, I think, strap
Good.
or something.
Oh, we had to put a lot of
body
exploding
shaming
staff
him.
over there.
Yeah, to put a lot of body stuff there. Yeah. So one of the reasons why these games kind of are a little bit wonky is that they were made very quickly and very cheaply. Shocker, I know. In order to gain as much money as possible by selling these via Christian bookstores. So they even had a commercial with this game to promote this game, but they still didn't have the licensing from Nintendo, and Nintendo was going to threaten to sue them for this, but they had actually already sued Color Games for some of their more risque games, and because they were now going under the premise that they would basically have to punish the people who were selling the games, it then became, are we going to punish the Christian bookstores all throughout America for doing these games and having these wraparounds. So they kind of let it go, which is a very big deal in terms of Nintendo and licensing.
So even doing this was like, hey, this is the way we can get away with this.
Yeah.
Is that Nintendo would be in a PR snafu
It's
if they tried to
100
sue Christian bookstores, and that's why we're going to make these.
And that is exactly why they kept going, and they created about 8 games, which were either direct Nintendo big game ripoffs or repurposed from other games to be religious. So they used to have a game called Wisdom or Color Games had a game called Menace Beach and Baby Boomer. Baby Boomer was about guiding a baby through similar mazes like this. And like blasting things out of the way in front of the baby.
I want to draw attention to the game real quick. I love how awkwardly these golden calves drop and slide.
I know, they slide off, don't they? Yeah, it's a weird mechanic, but I don't know if you also notice that almost every level has Exodus written somewhere within the map.
That's insane.
So you never forget what game you're playing when you're 3 hours in.
Yeah, it's a nice branding thing.
Can I talk about gameplay for 1 sec? So
yeah.
In the previous round with the we'll call them the bad kids with the axes and the loincloth. You notice that he didn't kill them. Moses spared the children, but also the children didn't seem like they were particularly good at their job, which I assume was to kill Moses.
Yeah,
like,
they just kind of were wandering around aimlessly.
Yeah. And there was one that literally walked on top of him and didn't kill him. So I'm wondering the gameplay here. There's some questions about like the dangers that Moses faces. They seem not particularly dangerous.
You know, the question that I have, and maybe we should have reached out to this person as well, is the person who did this gameplay. Because it clearly seems to be someone who put a lot of hours into this game already.
Yeah.
Because they are like speed running the questions. They 100%, are. They know
like they have everything
trick.
Memorized. They have sort of like a very like useful technique of going through the game and just methodically going through each section to get rid of certain things. I feel like that might be why he's not attacking some of these ne'er-do-wells.
Because he knows.
Shall we say?
Yeah. So it seems like, okay, this orange guy, he doesn't blast. He just tries to avoid. Now, the orange guy looks a little like Pizza the Hut.
Yes.
Which was the lesser-known 8th plague. They don't talk about it much. In fact, it's only you have to go through a curtain in temple to the back room to learn about it. It's like where they keep the adult content. It certainly
seems like 95% of this game is blowing up staffs.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. There's certain like special, I think techniques and abilities that you acquire. I just don't remember. I remember the staff, but I don't remember how you get it and how many.
Your dad bought you this game, Katie?
He bought me the game, or it came. So I remember when I was younger, my cousins got in trouble for one reason or another, and they were going to sell their NES system and all of their games. But my dad ended up taking the games from them because they're like, you don't even get to sell these for some reason. I don't know. I don't remember what they did, but they did something bad, and so we ended up getting. Yeah,
I want to interview your cousins now.
Yeah, I think we should. I think we should. I'm pretty sure this game was amongst them. If it wasn't, I guarantee you that my dad actually bought this at our local like Christian bookstore or something, because we had several of them around us at the time.
So did you enjoy playing this game?
That was literally thank you, Eric.
It.
That was my next question.
I loved it. I loved it because it was a puzzler game, and I hadn't played that many games. We played the original NES Zelda, which ended up being like one of my favorite games. But we were so confused. We didn't realize that the translation was still bad on the original Zelda. And so like there was so many things about the game that we were like, there's so many mysteries behind like what everything entailed that we
hopefully Exodus will clarify that.
Well, I mean, this was like the simplified version of it, where we could be like, oh well, if you do this happens. Like it kind of like made a little bit more sense, which was wild. I didn't get far in this game. I will say that when I was a kid, and it
I
was
wanna skip
also
ahead.
yeah. Please do.
We're now
Oh,
2
yeah.
hours into the game. On
Oh,
this
but there's a
playthrough.
lot of soldiers.
There's a lot of
He
soldiers.
just well,
Wait.
maybe. Well, I skipped ahead. I don't know where the level was.
Okay,
I may have skipped to the end of a level. I was like, I thought the same thing, Eric. I was like, that was a very short level.
Oh, these questions though are
Yeah,
God
yeah.
chiseled out 2 new stone tablets for Moses. That's true.
That's- God said he was jealous.
I'm just a jealous God.
Moses met with God on. Oh, got it.
Not trying to-
Sinai.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is definitely a
This is
speedrun.
amazing.
Oh,
artwork
that's
right
a
here,
great
too.
graphic right there. I want that on a t-shirt.
I was gonna say,
I
Eric,
think
do you want that as a
should.
poster on your wall?
I already have.
Can we get that as a graphic for next Comic-Con? And
Oh my God, yes.
Listen,
my
based
first
on
tattoo.
based on everything you've told us about the company that made this, he just crushed that man with a golden cap.
Yes, he
Based
did.
on based on everything you've told us about this gaming company, there's a part of me that's like, I bet we could take that graphic and upload it on the TeePublic. Like, who's
Oh.
gonna come after us?
100%.
God will come after us, man. My God, not your God, my God.
Very.
Oh yeah, no, I feel like this is slightly more offensive to your God than ours.
Nah, he'll come only after me.
Incredibly
You'll be fine.
offensive to your God because it's so tinted with like Christian isms.
Oh my God, yeah. Oh my God. see?
And like also to be like it feels similar to sort of like the Spider-Man debate where it's like, I mean, is there no violence? He literally just crushed a man with a golden calf.
Yeah.
Into nothingness.
Yeah. Some other really fun facts about this company, if you'd like, but sorry, Eric, were you going to say something?
Oh, well, actually, the one question I had, and maybe you'll answer this, is, so like back in the day, so this came out, we all the televangelists were very popular.
Yes.
So I'm curious, you mentioned Christian bookstores, which I'll freely admit I haven't gone to. I've gone to different kinds of bookstores,
Sure.
but not Christian so much. Would they
Probably
sell
best.
these on was it Jim Baker, or any of those guys, Pat Robertson? Would they sell these kind of games direct to order kind of thing too?
I wouldn't be shocked.
I believe they did. I don't have physical evidence of that, but I will give you one of my last fun facts about the company. So the company itself is not necessarily still active. The last post that they had was from their Facebook in like 2017, trying to do a Kickstarter that never actually got funded. But let me just read this one section that I wrote down. Wisdom Tree games can be found on Steam for download, but the company itself has mysteriously gone fairly quiet since 2007. The last openly viewable post from their Facebook page was promoting a Kickstarter for the new game cartridges, but the Kickstarter seems to have failed. The last game Wisdom Tree produced was a game called Jesus in Space in 2007.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Sign me up for that.
Yeah.
But also,
Is that like when Jason went to space?
it
X.
probably is. But also, shockingly and weirdly, around the same time in 2007, when the company mysteriously kind of went off the grid, the FCC cited CEO Brenda Huff for violating rules of pre-recorded phone calls and may have been responsible for a lot of robocalls.
Where's your Messiah now?
So I'm very certain that they probably did have some kind of like televangelist tie-in to all of this. I didn't have enough time because I've also been focusing on the LA fires.
Yeah,
week.
you've
been trying to survive.
protect yourself. I think that's important.
Yeah. I have one more really great fun fact that I'll save for later, but
Well, no, we're nearing the end. I want to see what the
Okay.
final boss of this game looks like.
Yes, of course. I'm very curious as well. So this
Is this
game
further than you ever made it, Katie?
This is way further than I think I've ever made it.
Please
I don't
find
even.
the person who played this. I this is my new favorite person. Sorry.
Okay.
my
Yeah,
wife
no,
and
I think
kids.
we should. I think we should, and we should probably bring them on.
I do love that their screen capture also keeps getting their Windows update things in the bottom right corner.
I see it too.
They've been playing so long that there's a new version of Windows XP.
All right, here
Well,
we go.
as
I think we're
he's
in the last
probably
like 20
playing-
minutes of the game, so we'll let this
Okay.
kind of roll while you give us some fun facts.
Oh my god, there's so many fun facts about this. Like it was one of those things that I knew this game was definitely like a fun, like very simplistic game that me is like what 8, 10, I don't know how old I was like, oh, I can totally vibe with this game because it doesn't take too much thought to complete it. But at the same time, I don't think I got that far because I think I ended up getting bored, much like Eric was describing. But this game, along with other games from Wisdom Tree, sold in bookstores across the nation. 8 of these games were Christian games that were pretty much direct ripoffs from other games, such as Super Mario 2 or Bomberman or several other different games. 4 of these games actually got to also be produced and got around the security system on the Sega system, who ultimately threatened but never sued for similar reasons as Nintendo, because they didn't want to have the backlash from the Christian community. Perhaps one of the most ultimate games and the worst Wisdom Tree reskins of the game was Super 3D Noah's Ark, where
Yo! Sign me up.
where Noah is trying to corral all of his animals by shooting food into their mouth that makes them fall asleep. Do you guys have any guess of what reskin of a game this might have been from?
I don't.
That you were Duck Hunt?
No, so close. Similar, but not at all. Wolfenstein. You know, the classic
God.
game where you shoot Nazis? So instead of shooting Nazis, you're shooting animals.
Food into an animal's mouth.
To
That
make
makes
them
sense.
fall asleep. Now, the funny thing about that, if you remember, they had the rights, Color Games had the rights to make a Hellraiser game, which is a direct opposite to what this is all kind of promoting.
Katie, did they have to call it HE double hockey stick razor?
They probably were going to have to. But because of that, because they had that deal with Wisdom Tree, they also got the engine for Wolfenstein to create their game for Hellraiser. So it was going to be on a similar engine, software engine, but ended up, because they were moving more towards the religious market, they ended up making Super 3D Noah's Ark instead. And if you find any footage of that, trust me, it's a very funny time, and it's also very odd.
We
That
we have to play that at some point. I mean,
Yeah, we really do.
Yeah, no, that's. I mean, wow. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. This last level looks hard.
Yeah,
There's a
There's
lot
all
going
types
on
of people
here.
running around.
lots
You know-
of people.
It also reminds me a little bit. I mean, Gauntlet is much more interesting than this, but like
Yes.
a little bit like the Gauntlet side of it, including how he leaves the levels.
Oh,
I
yeah,
can see
yeah.
that.
No, totally.
Oh, he crushed a guy
Yep.
with his Moses pellet.
with the brick that seems to change how many times you shoot it.
Yeah, it
I do
looks
I do
he's
like that
making
the
these in
golden
heart.
calves are explosive.
Yes.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
uses the
shoots them
golden
and
calf.
yeah.
They seem to be the most explosive thing he has. Actually, is the golden calf.
They're probably filled with oil, right?
Oh, fair. Wow, this is.
This is the big boss level. Matt?
I mean, I guess this is the end. There's not much.
The bosses are still very little.
Let's see if I can go a little bit further.
Oh, geez, this one's.
Yeah. So it ends up becoming more of a puzzle thing than it does.
But
I
you
mean,
didn't have
it's one of those things where it's like, if it wasn't a Moses themed Exodus game, I could see this actually being somewhat fun. But I guess, like you said, it's basically Super Bomberman.
Yeah.
So just play Super Bomberman.
Yeah. I mean, it's a better story and more fun puzzles, I would say. But I don't think anybody at this time, especially with this company, was really thinking about fun and game or anything like that. They were more trying to educate, I guess. And as apparently Brenda Huff was saying, bring the younger generations back to church.
Oh, I
Well,
mean,
that
this would have done it. I would have just been like, Mom, please, I've got to go on Sunday. It's like Exodus.
Yeah.
Tabernacle set up. Oh, geez, this guy really knows his questions. He's like,
Yeah, he's speed running even the questions.
Yeah.
the candlestick was placed
placement.
on what side?
Yeah.
South side, it seems. Here we go.
Level
Level
100. It's
100.
100 levels?
100 levels.
Oh,
I'm surprised. 18, the number is actually very important in Judaism. It means high or life. So I'm surprised it wasn't. I mean, they really wouldn't do it right to be 118th level, because that's the number. Like when you're a kid and it's your bar mitzvah, the downside of the number 18 is you get things that are multiples of 18s as gifts, which means instead of maybe getting 50, you get like 36 dollars, or like instead of 25, you get 18. And so appreciate the sentiment. I'd rather the $7 extra
Sure.
Yeah.
than a number that represents life. $7 gave me more life. So the golden calf doesn't blow him up though.
No, that I was just realizing that too. And I wonder if it's because he shot towards it. I'm not.
It's got a
Well,
lot
I
of soldiers
think
to face.
I
Yes,
think
that's
that
a lot of
once
searching.
you get the golden calf in position, like I don't think you can like
Get
maneuver
blowback.
him. Yeah, like you can't be like, redo, I pushed this too fast. So I guess it's more that he's like trying to slowly guide the golden calves. Never has a episode of a podcast more needed its visual component than this
I
one.
know.
Yeah.
But
My
no,
apologies
for our
to the
radio
listener.
listeners.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
That's
missing
okay.
out.
Listen, it's certainly something to be seen, and that's why we're giving them this video option. Truly. So, what is happening?
He's getting his score racked up because of all the lives. So you see the lives are counting down on the far right. So he's getting his score. What is that? 10,000 points per life.
Katie,
Dang,
don't
dude.
look. Cover your eyes, Katie.
Oh no!
You're not supposed to see this.
Skin melts off. I turn into a skeleton.
I blow up.
He still has trivia. What is happening here? They still made him answer trivia after the 100th level.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm so fascinated how this game ends.
The Israelites traveled only when the cloud lifted. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
Jews never travel in bad weather. I know that.
There's a great
Cloud.
Picture.
Over a tent.
Is there no
You
congratulations?
completed Exodus.
It's just a completion screen. Oh, that's so funny.
Red Sea.
I'm not gonna lie though, but like, look at that though. That image is pretty epic.
Their
Yeah.
artwork is phenomenal. It's
artwork's pretty
everything
good.
else.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So, what'd you think, Eric? What'd you think of Exodus?
I'm ready to convert to Christianity.
Yeah!
You did it.
No,
All these years, Katie, you finally turned me.
no, Eric, no, that was not the point of this.
Oh shoot.
You missed out on all that sweet media over the last 30 plus years of
I
Christianity.
think I'm more fascinated. I mean, I almost wish we could have Katie as a child here.
Yeah.
And like the excitement of playing this game for the first time is something that I wish I could look at this through the eyes of the young to get this game. It's like, no, you don't want Bomberman. Bomberman is too violent. This is Exodus, where you can slowly kill a man with a golden calf.
You can drop a boulder on his head and crush him immediately into nothingness. Just vanishes fully.
Do you think, Eric, when you were a kid, that you would play something like this?
When I was a kid, you know what? It reminds me of, what was it, Minesweeper?
Yeah.
Right? I think in that end, like when I was like a little kid, maybe, but
It's got a lot of that Windows 95 vibe
Yeah.
to it, like Minesweeper, or the other one that jumps to my brain is like Chips Challenge, like just any of those games where you just kind of walk around collecting pieces.
but I think that idea, the trivia. That's one thing. Even though and I love the research you did on this, Katie, about the company and how this was sort of, you can sort of see when you watch this, if you watch it, that not the highest end graphics for even that era. There
Right,
was definitely
exactly.
games that were far more advanced than this, but um, I'm surprised that the lore didn't work in a little bit more, because that's the one thing I feel like, even on a low budget, cheapo knockoff, there's, I mean, such great visual lore
Yeah.
to the story of Exodus that, like, it seems like a real missed opportunity. Like, you could have had some gnarly stuff. I mean, why not work the plagues into some of the obstacles a bit more? I guess one
Yeah.
of those things might have been a frog, but a New Jersey frog that got mutated, maybe.
It's, you know, I
squid.
Yeah.
kind of weirdly feel like that's in keeping with a lot of the Christian content
Mhm.
from the media, is like that whole element of thrash bands got it. You know what I mean? Like Metallica wrote a whole ass song about the plagues of Egypt and made it sound cool.
Yeah.
But like literally until like the mid 90s, when it's like, oh, we could play like real metal. Like
Right.
no one really looked at that as like, hey, some of this stuff is pretty badass. Like we could do something with this. And it's like, let's just have a puzzle. Let's just have puzzles and Moses walking around
It
collecting
spells
coins.
Exodus.
That
Yeah.
spells Exodus, yeah. No, and I agree with you, Eric. There's like so much more. Like I thought Prince of Egypt kind of nailed it in
Yeah.
terms of just
Yeah.
like showing the excitement of that story and why it's like such an intense journey. The NES video game pretty much misses the mark in every single way,
Yeah.
but when it's being very like super rushed and then also trying to bring kids to church via the Exodus story, whilst quizzing you like a test. They missed the mark, I think, especially in the demographic. But little nerdy Katie, who wanted to be good at everything and like all my tests and stuff, really try to get this this trivia down.
Well, this is what made Katie so religious. I don't know if you've ever been to her apartment, but there's crucifixes as far as the eyes can see. She sacrifices a goat occasionally in the middle of her apartment, much to the delight of the cats.
Yeah.
So this didn't make you more religious? Like, I mean, what was the effect on you as a kid? I'm curious.
I will say it actually did make me more religious, because I was like, oh, not only is it a fun video game, and listen, this is also, I was in the area where I was just like, oh, something new. I've never seen this. This is the best thing ever. Which I think a lot of us as kids usually are, like when we're seeing a new property. I mean, Mighty Ducks, when I go back and rewatch it, I'm like, woof, what an odd movie that is. But for the time, I was like, yeah, I need to study my Bible more, and like I need to know more about like what's going on. And honestly, little nerdy Katie became one of those like Bible flipper, like I can tell you exactly the verse, I could tell you exactly where this happens. Like I was in Bible trivia games that I was winning and stuff.
Please tell me you have a trophy for that somewhere in California.
No, luckily no. I do not, because you get your crowns in heaven. But but I definitely left those by the wayside. In being like playing a game and whatnot, the glory came from like beating the game, and I never did beat the game. So I don't think.
Well, now you finally know how it ended.
I do.
With just a cut screen.
You beat Exodus. Good job.
The tone of the text is so middle of the road for how amazing that final picture is too, of Moses like shooting flames from a staff blowing up a hole in the wall.
That's the opening graphic. That's that's like the pause screen graphic, and it's a really epic image. So I would love to try and find the artist who created those images, because they're pretty baller.
Yeah. They understood the assignment more than any of the game developers did. Like,
it's right. You almost feel right. Like that piece might have been shopped out somewhere else. You know, whoever did that artwork really earned their salary, all $25 of it. It sounds like, but
Well, and apparently there's been reports that like when people were working for Color Dreams or for Wisdom Tree, a lot of checks bounced, and so they weren't necessarily making money. Their biggest game, Exodus and I believe Bible Adventures were their biggest games, and I think at most during the time in their heyday they sold over 300,000 copies. Which is a lot for back then. Yeah, and you can still buy these games on Steam right now for your computer if you would like to go through and play some puzzles.
My 13-year-old is big into Steam right now. I might have to send him a gift of one of these.
Just get Exodus. Enjoy.
Yeah.
Yes. Or if you can find, I don't know if it's on Steam, but if you can find Super 3D Noah's Ark, I beg you do that.
You had me at Super and then 3D.
I know. I love that they have to like add like more to the title to make it sound more epic.
Oh god, we have to play. I just brought up the graphic of it, and I've never seen Noah look more like a gnome than this artwork, and he's so jolly and happy. Like, oh, God bless him.
They even have the aiming mechanic as Wolfenstein still in there. As
do you double tap when you want to
when you really want to knock him out? I think I don't know.
Incredible. Well, Eric, I'm so glad that you joined us on this insane journey down this demented world that Katie has introduced to us. I'm excited to dive into more video games. But if people enjoyed your thoughts and commentary and want to hear you on more podcasts, where can they go?
Well, you can see me in the dark never regions of Geekscape over at the Marvel Movie Talk and the Marvel Book Club, or the Geekscape Book Club. Sorry about that, because sometimes it's not Marvel, where oftentimes I get to share a screen with the wonderful Katie, who has taught me so much about both Christianity and Judaism today. So thank you for that. You always hunt me down at Count Eric Connor over on Instagram. I'm still on X, probably not for much longer, but I'm still there somewhere. So yeah, come say hi.
Awesome. And we'll be back with more embarrassingly vintage Christian content next Sunday, the holy day, as some would say.